To me, vulnerability means to feel scared, to feel challenged, and to sometimes not know what to do. But I don't think vulnerability is a weakness. And I think, to be honest, vulnerability is a strength, because when you're challenged, when you're put in situations that are difficult, they change you. Pressure makes a diamond. So when you're put in these situations where you don't really know what you're doing, that's when the best of you come out. I'm half Chinese. My mum is from Shanghai. My dad is Australian. My dad passed away when I was 12 years old. So by the age of 21, on my father's side, my grandma, my dad and his brother had all passed away. And I think one of the big things, I guess, that drive the things that I do is the understanding that you only have limited time. And that doesn't matter what you do, you don't really have control over that time. So yeah, being a woman, being identified as Chinese, for me, I think those two labels I will carry with me for the rest of my life. And they're two labels that I want to really work with in my career. For me, personally, I work so hard because I want to get into a leading position, because I want to show individuals that just because you don't look like most of the other people in management doesn't mean you can't make it there. One of the things when I was younger, I always felt like I had to prove myself and prove that everything's okay and that everything is smooth and I'm not disadvantaged, and you don't want people to look at you as though you're disadvantaged. And being able to accept that it's okay to say, I'm having a hard time, or that I'm struggling, and reaching out and learning to reach out to people. But people people judge you, especially flying into Australia. When I fly with my grandparents, I have to speak Chinese with them. And you see people look at you and you see people judge you. And then when you turn around, you start speaking English. And I put on a fair dinkum dinky die Aussie accent, and I'll get my bogan on a little bit, because you get a little bit of respect having that. And people will treat you differently. One thing that really grinds my gears is I work in retail. I worked in retail part-time throughout my studies. And when I used to work in this home decor store, and we would have a lot of really nice items. And one of the common things people would say is, "Oh, but is it made in China?" Now that drives me nuts. If you walk into a store and you see an item that you like, why does it matter where it comes from? If you like it, you buy it. And what it makes me think is my mother's work never going to be as worthy as a white person's because she's made in China? Is the things that I'm going to do never going to be as worthy because I am part Chinese? What kind of ideas are you propagating in society by saying things like that? And when people say that to me, I say, did you know your iPhone is made in China? Designed in California, but made in China. It's interesting that individuals don't know that Asians themselves don't define themselves as Asians. Anglo-Saxons do. I only ever say that I'm Asian because that's a term that Anglo-Saxons have used to speak about us. If you ask an Asian, they will tell you they're either from Vietnam, or they're from China, or they're from the Philippines. And it seems like a little thing using the term Asian. You just kind of throw it out there. But it actually has such huge repercussions. It's not like a cute nickname. It's not helpful at all. Assuming that all these people are just one thing, one object. Say my sister and I, we don't identify as one race. Yes, I have some Asian features and I have some white features. But for us, it's been difficult to find that identity. We're too Asian to be white and too white to be Asian. Now, for me, it's a vulnerability that I own. I love being a foot in both worlds. But I know for other individuals, it can be quite hard trying to find where you fit in, and where it would just be great, I think, if one day we got to a stage where you didn't have to worry about what race you fit in with. And for me, being Australian is Australia's not defined by a race. I don't think of Australian, I think of Caucasian people. I think of an array of different races that all add to make Australia what it is. I think the power of owning your story is just that, owning your story. To accept every facet of your life, accept every mistake that you've done, and that will probably haunt you for the rest of your life. And you have days where you break down, and it's okay to have a cry. It's part of my routine cycle. And the other day I was crying about time and realising that I can't change time and that you only have a set amount of time and that's all you get given, and the fear that comes with never accomplishing what you want to accomplish. If you're never experiencing everything you want to experience, that's a real fear and you're allowed to feel that. But the important thing is you feel it, you acknowledge it, but then you get back up. I think that's what defines, I guess, overcoming vulnerability. And I think that's what defines success, to be honest. And that it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you can get back up. It's okay to fall down. To experience utmost happiness, you need to experience great sadness. The human body is all about comparison. Seeing colours, seeing shapes by the eyes is comparison. It's contrast and comparison, making comparisons. So if you don't have anything to compare to, if you don't have great sadness to compare your happiness, how do you know it's happiness? You know, in a perfect life, I wouldn't have planned for my father to pass away. In a perfect world, my mother would never have had to have lost the love of her life. But that's what happens. Life happens. You take that in and you move on to the next positive thing. I think growing up, when I was younger, I had this idea that you made a decision, say with your career, like I'm going to be a physiotherapist. I'm going to be a physiotherapist in the Peter McCallum Cancer Institute because that's where my dad had his treatment and that's what I'm going to do. Awesome, I'm set. It doesn't work that way. You're going to have experiences, you're going to meet people and they're going to change your perspective, and you need to be accepting of change. It takes courage. It takes strength. It takes time. It takes energy. But most importantly, it takes belief in yourself.